Hello, everybody, and welcome to Conversations with Deborah Franklin. Y'all, I'm so excited about tonight. We are continuing our conversation about suffering in silence. We have a psychiatrist coming on, and she's going to be talking about all the different levels of how she even had to come over what she was going through. We're going to talk about her book. We're going to talk about her journey, and then we have a performance live in the studio. So sit back, get ready. It's going to be fire up in here tonight. So right after these messages, we'll be right back with you for motivational moment.
In our intoxication with the scent of our own vanity, we held the glory in contempt.
I am your reverser. I am your reverser. I am your reversal. I declare and I prophesy a season of divine reversal. You dreaming about a Lexus? God can do better than that. You dreaming about a house in Roland Park? God can do better than that.
Here, no real worshipers right through here. I dare you to lift that hand. I'm telling you, between now and the next 40 days, God is going to reveal how tough you are.
Intoxication with the scent of our own vanity, we held the glory in contempt.
I am your reverser. I am your reverser. I am your reversal. I declare and I prophesy a season of divine reversal. You dreaming about a Lexus? God can do better than that. You dreaming about a house in Roland Park? God can do better than that.
Here, no real worshipers right through here. I dare you to lift that hand. I'm telling you, between now and the next 40 days, God is going to reveal how tough you are.
Everybody, and welcome back, y'all, for Motivational Moment, where I told you at the top of the show, we are talking about suffering in silence. And so many times we get caught up in our minds that we don't know how to come out of that feeling of turmoil, of that feeling of feeling down, that feeling of feeling depressed or left out. But sometimes, if you think about it, you kind of have set that up yourself. Because last week, the apostle talked about not making that it just doesn't fit. Stop making things fit that aren't there. But tonight, I want to talk about, hey, you got to renew your mind. Start changing your mind in the way that you think. Because if you start looking around and start paying attention to what's going on around you, how many situations did you create yourself? You're thinking that people are mad at you, when in all actuality, you kind of feeling those insecurities about, and then I'm going to take it a step further. You're feeling those insecurities of what you had when you were growing up as a child. And that's because you may have been teased, you may have been bullied, but now as an adult, you don't know how to let that go. And you have got to start thinking that, hey, if I just start to change my mind, maybe they're not talking about me. Or be like me, honey, go put yourself in the conversation, because I'll laugh and holler in a minute. Because I remember when I was going through that same situation, and sometimes my insecurities still do pop up. Yeah, a lot of times people are like, how are you insecure? How do you have problems with fitting in? How do you have problems with not having people around you, or not having friends, or your phone doesn't ring all the time? Guess what? It's true. And it's okay, because at some point you have to be okay with being okay with who you are. You have to learn to be okay in your alone time, because sometimes in that alone time you have to start gathering your thoughts, gathering your things that you need to put together to make you better. You have to start looking at, how can I make my world better? How can I make my path a little bit wider? How can I make it to the next level if I just sit back and pay attention to what's going on? If you just think about what's on your mind, because when you start thinking about all the things of all the people that hurt you, of all the people that came for you, because if you remember in the Bible, it says that touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. If you know that you are anointed and called in this season, honey, let them say what they got to say. Let them do what they got to do. But the main thing is, you do what you're supposed to do. And the Bible also says in Romans is that you have to not be conformed to this world, but you can be a part of the world, but you can't be conformed to the world. And that's by the renewing of your mind. You have to change your mindset. So many people are reading the books about having a fixed mindset, having a vision. What do you want to do? You got to learn how to not have a fixed mindset and know that things do change. Because I promise you, if I had a fixed mindset, I would have never moved from Texas to the East Coast. I would have never started working in the field that I started working in. I would have continued being the cheerleader on the sidelines and not now being in front of the camera. You have got to start thinking about, where do you want to go in your future? Who do you want to be? Because once you start thinking about who you want to be, then you can't stay where you are, because you have to start to think who you are before you become who you are. Because when you start to think it, then you become it. And when you become it, the people around you will start to recognize it. And when they start to recognize it, you're going to be like, oh my God, what has happened? Because now you can see the evidence of the changing of your mind. Because when your mind changes, everything around you has to change. Y'all, if nothing else, if you are suffering in silence for whatever reason, you could have gone through a loss. I shared my testimony last week about my loss, my personal loss. I talked about, having the miscarriage, but then I can also talk about losing my father at 29. What girl that is a daddy's girl wants to lose their father at 29? Because in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just now making a change. I'm just now on that cusp of changing my life around. And now I've accomplished some things. And yeah, I have those moments like, oh my God, I wish daddy was here to see me. Yeah. But it's okay. Because when you can recognize that you are just having a moment as opposed to getting caught up in it, the problem is we have to learn to get out of those situations. Do I miss my father? Every day, all day. But I don't let it consume me. And we have got to step above that. And then you sometimes say, I just can't come out of it. I have a girlfriend right now. She lost her son 2 years ago. And I told her, you know what? You have to grieve the way that you have to grieve. But she's coming out. She's becoming more of herself. But the thing is, she couldn't sit there. And her son was the love of her life. But you know what? If she had let the grief and let that pain encompass her, she would not be able to be a productive citizen. And that's what you got to realize, guys, that everybody depends on you for something. And if you're not worried about somebody else, worry about depending on you. Because when you become the best you have no other choice but to go for it, live the best life that you have, and be who you have been called to be. All right, guys, that's our motivational moment for today. We're going to come back in a few minutes with our guests. Have a great one. is this weekend. I know that you see that they are one of the main sponsors for this show tonight. They're making out a clarion call for all men. Doesn't matter where you are. They have people coming in from all over the country. But one thing that they're doing is that they're calling men to volunteer as well as participate in the march. They're having a all men march on Saturday to pray around Baltimore, to go around the United Nations. And they have people coming in from Ghana, from all parts of Africa. I can't even name all the countries that are going to show up. There are even people flying in from India just for the global prayer convocation. Men, if you are willing to volunteer this weekend, please reach out to Minister Leroy Lewis at 833-GPC-2018. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Hello, all my business owners and all my people that host events, because I know I'm right there with you guys. There is an opportunity for sponsorship, sales, secrets workshop. Lori Mans is like a beast in this area. She is hosting an event August 4th. August 4th, she will be here live in D.C. hosting an event. Y'all, I'm actually one of her ambassadors because I was like, I have got to be in the place because, you know, coming up, hats and heels, and we're trying to get corporate sponsorship. But why sit up and recreate the wheel when you can go to this workshop and she can give you the secrets to getting sponsorship? So whether you have a podcast, whether you have a book, whatever, if you're hosting an event, this is a conference, a workshop that you need to be in. So go to the webpage, sponsorshipsalessecrets.com, and you will be a part and be in the place, y'all. It's going to be amazing. So, and then look, it's only from 10 to 2. So your day is not going to your day won't be gone. So come out and join us. Be a part of the Sponsorship Sales Secret Workshops. Sponsorshipsalessecrets.com. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back, y'all. We had a few technical difficulties, but guess what? I got Chuck Acid in the studio with me. Hey man, how you?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm so glad you came down, y'all. He drove all the way down from Philly to hang out with your girl. So, what's going on with you? What's happening?
I'm just trying to do a lot of more shows, trying to promote the tape, trying to get my name out there more.
Oh, hey, that's half the battle, trying to get your name out. So, what kind of music do you do?
Therapy music. Like I do. Well, I mean, the
that
technical.
Bro said therapy music, so he basically just came on here and said, "I'm crazy, and I must need to listen to some therapy." Okay, come on, therapy. What kind of therapy you dealing with?
I do hip hop, but the type of therapy I do is just like anything I'm going through, anything I feel in my heart that I have to speak about that's coming from a place of truth. I try to, that's the type of music I make.
Okay, I like that, a place of truth. So what does that mean when you say a place of truth? Because so many times we hear people say that a lot, but what does that mean to you?
Place of truth, like, well, for example, like anytime I write a verse, I might catch myself trying to like sound cool instead of like telling the actual truth of the matter. And like anytime I feel that, I had to, scrap the whole verse. Like if I don't go into the studio and record what's on my heart, like it comes out like in a negative way. So that's what I mean by therapy.
So basically you saying that we don't get the fake and phony with you. We get the real deal.
You get exactly what's happening.
You know what? I like that because I like people that are real. I like people that are honest, and I like clean, crisp music. Because growing up the way I grew up, music is what it was. And then I know I don't look it, but I remember back in the day, I was working in the studio because that's what I used to call my friend's studio that he had in his house with the egg crates on the wall trying to insulate the sound. But I know you're not doing that because that's so old school. But it did work. That was some of my best stuff. But a lot of people don't believe that I did that, but I did. Yeah, I still don't believe it. I did it myself. But hey, so what kind of studio? What can we expect from you today? What are you going to be performing for us today?
It's a track called Family. It was coming like from a place of just how people were acting, and I just wanted to express it because it was really bugging me.
Acting about what?
Like when you're trying to chase your dream and live and your truth, like, and people start seeing success. People who doubted you before start seeing a little bit of success. They kind of want to be a part of it now, but it's not authentic. Like they're like,
I love those people. I love those people.
They're great.
Those are the best that ever did it. Because I like, you always hated on me. You talked about me. You throw my name through the mud. But now what did it say? Now you didn't want me, but now I'm here. Right. I done started from the bottom, now here. Yeah. It's like, so for real though. Right. You hated on me. Now you trying to be my friend. You all happens. Up in my DM.
Right. No, really.
So how do you deal with that?
I write a song about it, and I pray about it. Honestly, like I try not to like act out of anger because it never works for me. Right. So I try to, just think about it logically.
Hey, I like that because, so many times, and especially in this industry, I don't care if you're starting out, if you're brand new, or if you've been in it for a while, it's like you always have to question those people that are coming into your life. So how do you deal with, I guess I can say, the new people that come?
It's just a line. Like, I understand, like, in order to, like, go forward, like, I found that, like, it's really about how you serve other people.
Wow.
Like, you can't just, like, be like, look at me, this is what I could do, this is what you should do for me. It's literally like, what do you need help with? And that's how you climb like the ladder. So when new people come into my life, I just ask myself, like, what is a clear-cut way that I could actually like serve them? And like, if it gets to a point where it's like, all right, I might be doing a whole bunch of stuff for somebody, but it's not really helping them grow. That's when I draw the line and I'm like, okay, I gotta step back or...
Right. No, I totally agree with that because I feel like we're all here for a reason. And regardless of what you're doing, is that we should be able to sow into somebody else's life to help them go to the next level. Right. Because they always talk about it's lonely at the top, but it wouldn't be lonely if you were taking somebody with you. That's the way I'm thinking. Definitely. So, so who is your inspiration or who is your muse?
Who's my muse? I guess... Like musically or like...
It could be however you would like to answer this. This is your truth time, honey.
My muse, what inspires me, I guess when I hear music that's like like Amy Winehouse. I love her music.
Oh, okay,
because she's just really, she doesn't write. You can tell that she's telling the truth in her music. I love her music. Old Kanye.
Yeah, before he lost his mind.
Before he lost his mind.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Who else? Just anyone who's truthful, like and I guess like my mom, because like she would always tell me the truth, even if it hurt.
Well,
So,
most mamas do.
definitely,
Especially if they hood mamas. They don't
Right.
really care. Because if they grew up in the hood and they done got you out the hood, it's like you always got that thin line because they
Right.
still would jack you up. They are the true
Definitely.
reality check. So that's your I bet she's your reality check as well.
I just like, I used to hide that I made music from my parents, and then, like, my mom found out. And she's been so supportive. So like, she'll tell me if like a song is corny. She'll tell me if like, I don't know, like if I'm cursing in the music, she'll be like, "Oh, so like this is how you really talk, huh?" So yeah, and she's like, she's from Ivory Coast, so it's different. It's a different culture over there.
Oh yeah. Oh, poor thing. Poor thing. See, your mama come from the motherland. No, yeah. Okay,
play.
next look. Okay, moving right along, because your mama gonna be done came and beat both of us. I'm not gonna take this off because those are some straightforward mamas, and I love them. I love them. So what is your relationship with your family? How is that, especially with you writing a song about family?
It's good, honestly. Like before, I was really because of stuff that happened in the past, I was really like combative, and I wanted to be like a tough guy and, not talk to my pop or, stuff like that. But ever since I got like saved and like closer to God, like honestly, like I really been trying like to patch up my relationship with like people, because I really only have my mom and my pop. So
right.
I've been trying to, carve out like the way that I want to be treated. I'll treat my father like that, like, and everything's been changing since that point.
And that's amazing, because it's nothing like a relationship with your father, because all of us are going to have a relationship with mama. That's just straight up. But when you have a real good relationship with your pops, it means something totally different in your life, as well as it's just also a positive look on the black male culture and perception of black men. Because how do you deal with the stereotypes of how black men are perceived in the media, from what's going on with them with the killing of our black men? Right. How do you deal with that, especially coming in a genre that you're in? Yeah,
it's like, again, I just tell the truth. I tell how I feel, so that people who feel the same way, they understand that they're not the only ones who feel like that. Like, growing up, I used to think that like literally there's no reason for you to have a dad, because my experience was bad.
Wow.
So once I started really thinking about it differently, and I started seeing value in myself, I started seeing that really, I think that black men don't see that value in themselves, and that's why they run around. And I think it's up to everyone to see value like in each other, like especially black women. And I think that's my mother's done that, and like it's literally kept me alive. So I think that we do a lot. We do, and I think we did a horrible job at like uplifting our women, and like now you see it turning around, and I feel like the same thing has to happen for black men. Like we have to lift each other up. That's the only way that stuff is gonna start changing. Like our outlook on how we as men are like viewed is gonna change.
I totally agree, because you know what, as I always say, everything starts at home. And home is, whether it's at our physical home or as our culture as a home, we have to start to respect each other and treat each other the way that we would want to be treated, and do the things how we would want to be. And I do appreciate your statement about you started to look at them the way you wanted to be treated. That's amazing, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Because so many times, so many young people, once they go into that quote unquote hate mode, it's hard for them to come
really
out.
hard, yeah.
And it is, and it's like once you get in your mind, and again, that goes back with renewing and the changing of your mind, is that you have to start to look at the picture bigger than what it is, and that it's not all about you. I so applaud you and appreciate you. So guess what? You ready to perform with us?
Definitely.
You ready? You gonna bring the heat? Absolutely. Well, all right, y'all. We're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna be right back with Mr. Chuck Acid. Well, hello, everybody. Hey, Dr. Nicole, how are you?
I am great. How are you?
Awesome. All right, y'all. I know those of you that are watching, we said that we were going to come back with Chuck Acid, but y'all, he's still here in the studio. But this is what happens when you do things live. Stuff happens. So we're going to fix those little technical difficulties that we were having, and then he's going to come back and perform live for us. Dr. Nicole, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. Okay, let me just jump right in. I got your book in the mail, honey. I was like, I'm done. I'm not a psychiatrist, but this book took me over the edge. I was so glad. You know how sometimes when you read stuff, you be like, yes, somebody understands me. Somebody knows what's going on in my life. So yes, I do appreciate this book. And this is it right here. Y'all see, I'm proving to y'all that I have it here. You can tell I have been going through it because it's already kind of frayed. I had to squeeze it into the little holder. But Dr. Nicole, let's just jump right in. How can you say that you are a psychiatrist, and for lack of a better statement, you felt like you were going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? How can we do this? You know, you in the industry. You're not supposed to feel that way.
Listen, I'm human. I am human. Things happen. Life happens. You cannot run from your past, no matter who you are. And so these things all catch up with you. And at some point, we all have to learn how to be stable citizens. And sometimes that's hard, even for the people whose job it is to help everybody else keep that peace of mind and keep it going. I mean, beauticians have bad hair days. Mechanics' cars break down. We all have to learn how to take the tools that we teach other people and use them on ourselves occasionally.
Exactly. And I totally appreciate that, but it feels so good sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, to hear somebody that is in the industry, that's in that line of work, to admit that I have problems too. Because then it doesn't seem so hard and so unbelievable that you're going through it. And which leads us to our topic for the month, about talking about suffering in silence. How many people do suffer in silence because they feel like they're the only ones? What advice would you give somebody that is going through that, woe is me, I'm the only one this is happening to?
Yeah, the important thing to remember is you are not the only one. I mean, that's the key thing. I mean, we know that there are 18.6% of Black Americans, adults, are living with some form of mental illness.
Wow.
And so that means you are not alone.
Wow.
1 in 5 of us is dealing with something. And so we all feel alone because none of us talk about it.
Right.
We don't really create safe spaces where our loved ones can talk about it. If someone brings up they're having a bad time, or they're depressed, or if we come back with, oh girl, you just need to go pray.
Oh, whoa, you already know that is one of my biggest pet peeves in the world.
Mine too, because depression and anxiety, those are brain disorders. And so we don't tell people, well, your sugar's too high because your faith isn't strong enough, or your blood pressure's too high because your faith isn't strong enough. But when it comes to mental health disorders, we tell people, oh, your faith isn't strong enough. You just need to pray. You just need to get over it. And we never tell people these things about other medical conditions they deal with, and these are medical conditions.
Exactly. And I always, my answer to that is always, so after I pray about it, what do I do when I get up? So it's that's like when you grow up in the church and you are active in the church, it's really hard for people to take that in. And when you say that, but that's real. That is real, So what tools? Because I know for me, I did suffer a little bit with some depression as well as some insecurities. So what advice? Because I know a lot of times we don't talk about people that are insecure. We don't talk about having those insecurities, not feeling like you can't fit into a crowd, feeling like you can't fit into a group. We don't ever talk about that. We don't talk about that whole feeling alone piece. So how do you, what advice could you give somebody for that?
One thing I tell people, I think people need people. I definitely believe that. I really believe that we were designed, God created us to live in community and to have each other. And I think it's important to make sure that we have good people around us who are going to, call us when we are being a little dramatic, but who are also going to be supportive of us when we really, really need that. And mental health is something that I'm not even necessarily always talking about the person who has a depression or an anxiety disorder. Sometimes people just have bad mental health days.
Right.
Or sometimes we just carry things with us that we've carried since childhood that affect our mental health, like that, I can't be alone, or I struggle with, insecurities about the way I look, or the way the way my body's shaped, or the way my hair is, or, we deal with those things. And sometimes we're our own worst enemies. Our families can be so horrible to us sometimes and create those things. And so I think it's important as parents that we are pretty mindful of the things that we're saying to our kids, that we're not, putting our kids down without even thinking about it. And they carry those things with them into adulthood.
Yes. And and a lot of times I don't think people realize how much of our childhood we do bring to our adulthood, and how how hard that is sometimes to let that go. So what are some of just a couple steps, and then we're going to jump in and start talking about your book. What are some just quick steps that we can do? And I know none of these steps are quick, but just something that's easy to start trying to get rid of what may have happened to you as a child to cause you to be insecure, to cause you to feel like you have abandonment issues. What are just a few things that we could do to start getting over that?
What I think getting over it is difficult, because maybe we don't ever get over it, but we learn how to work through it.
Okay.
I think it is important for us to do some good reality testing. Sometimes we hold on to these beliefs about ourselves and the world, and you can catch yourself if you find yourself saying things like, well, this should be this way, or this ought to be this way, or this person should do this, or I should do that. You have to be really careful about using those kind of phrases and these rules that we've created just based on our upbringing and family influence and things like that. And so doing some reality testing, I challenge patients all the time to just, what evidence do you have that those things are true? Like, we believe things about ourselves, but do we really have the proof that those things are actually true?
I like that. What evidence do you have that those things are true? Yes, I totally agree with that, because I know once I started to change some things about me, I had to start thinking about what is my real reality. And that's powerful. Thank you, doctor. I feel good. I feel like I done had to lay on the couch today. Thank you, honey. I'm appreciative. But one other question, you said something, just having a bad mental day. What does that really mean or look like? Because sometimes maybe I'm having that day and I don't recognize it. How do I recognize that I'm having just a bad mental day?
Right. Stress is real. The struggle is real. We talk about it. And depending on your career or your family status or financial status, we all have these stressful things that we go through. And if we don't have the effective coping skills to help us be able to make it through just the little stresses of life, we definitely won't have them to make it through the big stresses of life.
Right.
And so that can lead to burnout. If you're a mom, you're a single mom, you're chronically sleep deprived and irritable and stressed, or in a career, I'm a physician and we're working long hours and you have all these people depending on you, and, burnout can happen easily. And so, some things you might notice is that you are just, as my grandma would say, meaner than a junkyard dog. Like, you are just irritable and snapping, and maybe you're snapping at your kids or your significant other, and you think, well, I didn't mean for that to happen, or you are just extremely tired, even more than kind of the usual. I tell people I've been tired since the day I had my first kid, but just even more tired. And then maybe you find that you just aren't on your game. Like, maybe you're somebody who kind of always remembers things, but then all of a sudden you're forgetting little stuff that you usually are very good at keeping up with. So those might be some tips that you need to do some self-care and take care of yourself.
Oh, honey, I'm about to ring the bell on that self-care, because, I think all of us, and you even talk about that in your book, is that we we are so busy taking care of everybody and everything, we forget about ourselves. Because I'm just gonna say it. I made a decision that I'm thinking I'm taking a month off, and I was like, it doesn't make sense if from the outside looking in to take a month off. But I was like, yo, if I don't take this month off, I feel like I'm just gonna drop down, because it's like I'm rushing to do everything. So, Doc, am I making a good decision?
You absolutely are. Yay! So I tell people, think of it like a suitcase, right? So you have this suitcase and you have all this stuff you keep putting in your suitcase, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to deal with that right now. I'm putting in the suitcase. I'm not going to deal with that right now. I got to go tell with my kids. I got to go deal with my patients. I got to go deal with my clients. These people need me. They rely on me. And all of a sudden your suitcase is too heavy for you to carry, and it becomes a problem. And so then it's time for you to start unpacking some of that stuff in your suitcase. And a good time to do that is when you take that break and you step back and you do some things for you. Do some journaling, catch some movies you hadn't been able to catch up on, read some books, connect with some people you haven't talked to in a while. You know, those people that you say, I need to call so-and-so, but you get too busy. And, you know, sometimes those relationships kind of rejuvenate us, and making those connections again are so helpful.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Doc. I greatly appreciate it. You have definitely made me feel so much better about myself, because it's like I made that decision. It was like I called my sister and I was like, cancel everything. If it wasn't something that was already on there, cancel it. I was like, I can't do it. I'm done. And I think sometimes, you tell me if I'm right or wrong, is that we don't recognize our burnout. We don't recognize when we are getting to that point.
Absolutely not. We are typically the last to notice. People around us might say, "Ooh, what's wrong with you? You kind of snippy, or what's going on with you?" My husband can definitely always tell when I'm getting to that point before I can. And I know it sounds cliche, but there's a reason that when you're on that airplane and they tell you put your oxygen on first, right, and then take care of the vulnerable people around you, sometimes we put ourselves on the back burner because we want to be there for everybody. But if we're not effectively there for everybody, we might as well not be there.
Oh my gosh, you said a whole mouthful, because you got to be effective in that, and I totally get it. So now let's jump right on into the juicy stuff. Tell us about this book that you wrote.
So this book is for just any person, really. I know it is the high level professionals 28-day journey, but really anybody can get something out of this book. We start off the first week with just some basic mental health stuff. You learn about criteria for depression. You learn about what bipolar disorder really is. We talk about addictions. So we just talk about I'm sorry,
I did get tickled in that part of the book when you start talking about what bipolar really is. I got so tickled because I was like, wait a minute, am I showing some of these symptoms? I'm so sorry, Doc. I'm so sorry. Go for it.
And then that's what the book is about, right? From introspection to action, right?
I was like, oh, wait a minute.
From introspection to action.
Yes.
So the next 2 weeks, we talk about what we call cognitive distortions. Basically, it's just, plain old stinking thinking. It's the kind of things that we think, or, ways that we think that get us into a whole lot of trouble. One of those I kind of just talked about was that shoulda, woulda, coulda. Right. When we start making those shoulda statements, or he should have done this, or she should have done this, or I should have done that. We are basically setting these rules in place that we made up, that nobody else made up. And sometimes we beat ourselves up when we hold on to those kind of rigid rules about life. So we go through 2 weeks of those. Mm-hmm. And then each day actually has a little kind of, point to ponder, questions for you to think about. And then that last week is the action week. It's time to figure out, what do we need to do? Some people are going to read this book and go, I feel pretty good about myself. Right. Some people are going to read this book and say, I don't think I have like a diagnosis, but I might need to take better care of myself because I'm not doing great. And some people might say, you know what, it's time for me to really jump into treatment. I've been avoiding that. And so, this book, everyone will find something that they feel like they can do. And maybe you do well on this book the first time around, but maybe a year from now you think, I need to go pick that book back up. I'm not doing so great, because these things fluctuate. Life happens. Things happen.
Right. And I have to totally agree with that because, so many times we read something and we feel good about it, but we never think about revisiting it to basically, I guess, do that backup, that double check to see if we're still in that good place. And that's what I really appreciate about this book that you have developed, because it gives us an action plan. And so many times you read all these, I'm going to do this book, or you need this, but there's no action plan. And I have to appreciate the action plan. And most of all, y'all, it has a workbook. So you can actually write in the book and take your notes. So then when you revisit within a year or two, you know what you was doing. So Doc, how can we find you? How can we get your book? How can they be ready to be a part of this movement? Because this is really a movement that you're starting, and I have to appreciate this.
Absolutely. So I can be found. My website is drnicolepsych.com, DrNicolepsych.com, and I can be found on all social media at Dr. Nicole Psych. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm constantly working on new things, and I have a podcast launching later on this month.
Oh,
so that'll
congratulations!
be something to look for. So find me, follow me to stay tuned for all that information.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Nicole, thank you for joining us here live on Conversations with Deborah Franklin. I am so appreciative to have you on with us, and I'm really telling you the truth. I have really enjoyed going through your book. So, love you to life. Have a great one.
Thank you. You enjoy that month off.
Oh, yes, indeed, honey. Hello, everybody. We are back. Like I promised, Chuck Acid is ready to start. Hey, he ready to set some stuff on fire. So I'm not going to take much of his time. All right, guys, put your hands together for Chuck Acid.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah, I'm singing. Family this and family that. My family abandoned me, and that is a fact. I said my family abandoned me, and that is a fact. I said my. Yeah, I see you doing your thing. When you blow up and buy some jewelry, give me like 2 of your rings and the newest of chains because you own me. It's me, your homie. You the oldest and only. You can't replace me with another. I'm your brother. I couldn't spot you for that studio time, but I figured you got him out cause you wanna grind. Figure how to do it without me. You do all the time. And while you recording, can you shout me out in your lines? Like, it's like that. Remember when you got bullied, you ain't fight back. You talking heavy in these lines, you ain't like that. Remember Sarah had her legs spread wide, terrified, you ain't pipe that. You Hollywood, when I text you don't type back. And honestly, I don't like that. Just give me 5 for every you. Getting in the ride, play a beat, then I rhyme with you. Goddamn, times have changed. Got me sipping on the Hennessy to hide the pain. I just hope that you remember me before I turn the enemy.
I heard you knew Chuck.
Yeah, he was more than a friend of me. Family this and family that. My family abandoned me, and that is a fact. I said my family abandoned me, and that is a fact. Said my family abandoned me, and that is a fact. I'm singing, hey, family this and family that. My family abandoned me, and that is a fact. Said my family abandoned me, and that is a fact. Yeah. Look, nowadays I am hardly impressed when they say that they'll expose me and they call it a threat. I bet they calling on my line soon as karma effect. Like hating, what the you expect? Nevertheless, no more getting pressed when you're seeing Chucky as investment instead of their best friend. Whoa. That's a problem with calling your best friend. Bro. Go deep, then your mouth go. Bro. No more talking on my line now. Just one more time and it's lights out. These are the thoughts I couldn't write down. I sent him up, he sent them right down. He told me spit it and rash, riddle me that. They ridicule and belittle that they wanna be. Comments be backhanded exactly why they front of me. I'd rather have enemies in my company than fake friends, especially quote unquote bros. Cause you know, family this and family that. My family abandoned me, and that is a fact. I said my family abandoned me, and that is a fact. Said my family abandoned me, and that is a fact. Singing, hey, family this and family that. My family abandoned me, and that is a fact. Said my family abandoned me, and that is a fact. Goddamn, yeah. Where's my family at? Yeah. Hey, yeah. Where's my family at? Yeah. Hey, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, all right, y'all. That was Chuck Acid. He ended our show, y'all. Thank y'all. Love y'all to life. And how can everybody find you?
Everyone can find me on Instagram. That's _Chuck Acid, one word. Instagram, Chuck _Acid. Facebook, just type in Chuck Acid.
So you heard it right here. Where you can find him? Chuck Acid. So just type in Chuck Acid and you can find him on everything. Well, y'all, it's been fun. It's been real. Love you to life. This is another close of Conversations with Deborah Franklin. All right, we're out. Have a good one.